chosen one, lock your attention on this message right now. That quiet ache in your heart, the one you've been carrying alone, silence it for the next few minutes. The enemy is working overtime today for one reason and one reason only. He knows what is about to be confirmed in your life. It all ends tomorrow. The doubt, the wondering, the sleepless nights asking yourself if you are truly wanted. But hear this clearly. It is not ending because of luck. It is ending because of what you have done. Think back to that moment this week when you pulled back, when you chose dignity over desperation, when you went quiet instead of reaching out one more time. You did not know it then, but that decision was not weakness. That was the exact movement that shifted everything. You did not lose them. You activated something. You did not find this recording by accident. The algorithm did not bring you here. The Holy Spirit did. This is a divine appointment scheduled before the foundations of the earth. You are standing at the edge of a confirmation that your spirit has been waiting for. Stay until the very last second of this message, because in the next few minutes I am going to hand you the spiritual verdict that confirms what this powerful and deeply attracted person has been feeling toward you. I am going to walk you through the specific moments this week where you unknowingly move them closer, not further, and at the end I am going to give you the declaration that seals your identity as the only one they see. Do not click away. Your future self is begging you to stay, because if you leave now, you will walk out of this room carrying a lie that was about to be dismantled. I know what the last 72 hours have felt like. The atmosphere has not just been uncertain, it has been heavy, like standing in a hallway between two closed doors, not knowing which one opens and whether anyone is standing on the other side waiting for you. Maybe you were lying in bed last night, staring at the ceiling, replaying a conversation in your mind and trying to decode every word, every pause, every silence. Or maybe you woke up at 3 in the morning this week with your heart racing, grabbed your phone out of instinct, and then put it back down because something in you knew you deserved more than a midnight reach. Or maybe you have simply been walking through your days this week feeling invisible, giving love, pouring out, and wondering in the deepest part of your chest whether any of it is being received. You feel suspended, like you are hovering in the space between what you hoped for and what you have been told to accept. And in that suspension, the enemy has been whispering a very specific lie. Listen to your own thoughts right now. He is telling you that the reason this connection feels stalled is because you are simply not enough. He is replaying that moment when you pulled back, that moment when you did not text first, that moment when you chose your peace over their attention. The accuser is telling you that in that moment you showed them you did not care enough. He is telling you that because of your silence, because of your restraint, this person has turned their eyes elsewhere, and you have already lost what could have been yours. But I need you to hear what the scripture actually says about this moment. Song of Solomon 8:7 says, "Many waters cannot quench love, neither can floods drown it." Listen to that promise. Many waters cannot quench it. Not your silence, not your absence, not the days you chose yourself over the chase. If what exists between you and this person is ordained, no flood of uncertainty, no gap in communication, no moment of restraint on your part can extinguish what God has already lit. The enemy wants you to believe your silence was rejection, but that is a deception. You are not being forgotten. You are being pursued in the spirit before the natural catches up. The heaviness you feel right now is not the weight of loss. It is the weight of arrival. It is the pressure of something so significant, pressing against the threshold of your life, straining to break through into your reality. You think that moment when you went quiet was the moment they stopped seeing you. You think your restraint communicated indifference. But let me reframe your reality right now. That was not withdrawal. That was magnetism. The moment you stopped chasing was the moment you became the most compelling presence in their atmosphere. You did not push them away. You gave them space to feel the weight of your absence, and nothing reveals how much someone means to you like the silence where they used to be. This powerful and attractive person does not have divided attention right now. They have one name running through their mind on a quiet loop. They have one face appearing in the spaces between their thoughts. They have one person they are trying to find a reason to reach out to without looking like they need to. That person is you, and you almost talked yourself out of believing it. And I need you to hear this before another moment passes, because what's unfolding in your life right now is not coincidence. It is not random attraction. It is not simply chemistry or timing or fate working itself out through ordinary means. What is happening between you and this person is something heaven itself has been orchestrating, a divine tapestry woven with threads of destiny long before you ever knew their name. The reason it feels so unlike anything you've experienced before is because it is indeed unlike anything you've experienced before. This is different. This is deeper. It resonates on a soul level, a frequency that your spirit has been yearning for, even if your conscious mind couldn't articulate it. And if your spirit has been unsettled lately, restless in a way you couldn't quite name, like a ship adrift in a gentle swell, unsure of its destination but sensing a powerful current, it's because something divine is about to break through the surface of your natural life, like a geyser of pure grace, ready to reshape your landscape. Some messages don't just inform, they activate. They ignite a spark within, awakening dormant potentials and stirring the very essence of your being. If something stirred deep in your spirit just now, a resonance, a knowing that vibrated through your core, you may be ready to receive the Chosen One's blueprint. This sacred guide is more than just information. It's a key, a map to understanding the profound divine architecture of your existence. It reveals the 8 divine patterns behind your calling, the sacred purpose woven into your very DNA. It illuminates the meaning behind your suffering, not as punishment, but as a crucible for transformation, forging you into the person you are destined to become. And it lays bare the contours of your destiny, showing you the path that awaits. It also comes with a full audiobook, so you can absorb its wisdom during your most sacred moments, while immersed in prayer, during periods of deep rest, or in those quiet liminal spaces where you commune with God, allowing the truths to seep into the very marrow of your bones. And for those of you who carry a divine mandate to speak His truth, for those who feel the fire of prophecy burning within, you'll also receive Activating Your Prophet Mantle, a powerful bonus ebook designed to equip you for those carrying a prophetic assignment, helping you to step fully into the voice and authority God has bestowed upon you. The link to this transformative resource is in the first pinned comment, but it is only available for a limited time, a sacred window of opportunity for those ready to claim their inheritance. But here's what most people never stop long enough to truly see: a subtle sabotage that keeps them tethered to the shore of their potential. They feel the undeniable pull of a divine connection, a magnetic force drawing them towards something profound, and they immediately begin to question it. They subject it to the harsh interrogation of their rational mind, picking apart its threads, searching for flaws, dismantling it from the inside before it ever has a chance to blossom into what it was divinely intended to be. And the reason they do that isn't because they don't believe in love, not truly. It's because somewhere along the winding path of their journey, through the valleys of disappointment and the storms of betrayal, they stopped believing they were inherently worthy of receiving it fully, without the crippling weight of conditions, without the perpetual anxiety of waiting for the other shoe to drop, without the constant bracing for the inevitable moment when it all crumbles into dust. You've been loving with one hand extended, tentatively offering your heart, while the other hand remains clenched, already raised in a defensive posture, ready to shield yourself from the blow. And that posture, that guarded, half-open way of receiving, that stance of perpetual preparedness for pain, has been the silent, insidious thief in every connection that has failed to reach its intended, magnificent fullness. It's like trying to water a plant with a cupped hand, catching only a fraction of what it needs to truly flourish. Think about the timeless story of Ruth and Boaz, a narrative that echoes with profound spiritual truth. Ruth did not shrink back from what was made available to her, even though it must have seemed daunting. She did not disqualify herself from the immense blessing that lay before her simply because her past had been etched with profound pain. She had buried a husband, a loss that would shatter most souls. She had walked away from everything familiar, her homeland, her customs, her entire world, stepping into the unknown with a faith that defied logic. She had known a depth of grief that most people couldn't even begin to comprehend. And yet when Boaz looked at her, his gaze was not clouded by her losses. He did not see a woman defined by her tragedies. Instead, he saw her intrinsic character, a diamond forged in the fires of adversity. He saw her unwavering loyalty, a beacon of steadfastness in a fickle world. He saw the kind of woman that a truly wise and discerning man recognizes as exceptionally rare, a treasure to be cherished. But for all that Boaz saw, Ruth had to be willing to be seen. She had to be willing to step out of the shadows and position herself not with arrogance but with a humble receptivity to receive the blessing that was being offered. Because positioning matters. It's not about being perfect, but about the radical willingness to open your heart and receive what God has already meticulously prepared and approved for your life. It's about allowing yourself to stand in the sun after a long season of rain. And this brings us to something that runs even deeper than the question of worthiness, a subtle, often unconscious, energetic contract. Because even when individuals intellectually accept that they deserve love, there is still a hidden agreement that many are carrying, an unspoken pact forged in a moment of profound pain that whispers, "The moment I open myself completely, the moment I surrender my heart fully, I will lose what I love most." That agreement didn't materialize out of thin air. It was born from a specific wound, a raw scar left by a deep hurt. It came from the time you placed your trust in someone, offered them your vulnerability, and they vanished, leaving you with an echoing void. It came from experiencing a love that felt conditional, a love that demanded something from you before it would bestow its affection. It even stemmed from the quiet corners of a childhood room where you learned, perhaps not even consciously, that affection, acceptance, and belonging had to be earned, meticulously acquired through performance, rather than being a birthright, a gift freely given. And now, that deeply ingrained agreement lives within your nervous system, operating like an invisible, immutable law, quiet, unseen, but governing the entirety of your relational landscape, dictating your patterns and shaping your experiences. It's a subtle cage built from the bars of past hurts. But I need to challenge you with something profound. That deeply held agreement, the one that dictates your fear of full surrender, was never the ultimate truth. It was merely a conclusion drawn by a younger, less experienced version of you, who simply didn't possess the full spectrum of information, the complete picture of life's intricate tapestry. And that younger version of you, in their limited understanding, was doing the absolute best they could with the tools and experiences available to them at the time. But you are not that version anymore. You have navigated through trials that were meticulously designed to break your spirit, yet you stand here today. You have carried burdens, emotional and spiritual weights that would have utterly collapsed someone with less resilience, less inner fortitude. And now, standing on the precipice of something truly real, something divinely ordained, you cannot, you must not allow an old, unhealed wound to write the tragic ending to a brand new, glorious story. The past does not have to dictate the future. Coming up in just a moment, the one seismic shift that will irrevocably change how this person sees you, feels you, and ultimately chooses you. Stay with me, because this is the pivotal part, the energetic recalibration that has the power to break the cycle of past pain for good and usher you into the fullness of what is being offered. The person who has their eyes fixed on you right now, the one for whom this entire message is resonating with an almost unnerving accuracy. They are not perceiving the distorted version of you that your own deepest insecurities have been projecting. They are not seeing the shadows that you yourself have become too accustomed to, too close to your own pain to see clearly. Instead, they are witnessing your inherent light, your authentic radiance. Not the polished, performative version you might present to the world, not the curated facade. They are seeing the real you, the unfiltered, unadorned you, the one that spontaneously ignites in the way you laugh, a pure, uninhibited expression of joy, the one that shines through in the quiet, unasked-for ways you care for people, extending compassion and kindness, even when there's no expectation of reciprocation. the one that surfaces in your quiet, understated strength. A strength you might not even recognize in yourself because you've carried it for so long, through so many trials, that it simply feels like survival. But to them, your resilience does not look like mere survival. To them, it looks like something utterly extraordinary, something profoundly beautiful. And here's what most people instinctively do at precisely this critical juncture. They deflect. They erect invisible barriers, pushing away the very connection they crave. They say things like, "You don't really know me," or "If you knew everything about me, you wouldn't feel this way." They engage in a form of pre-rejection, an act of pushing love away before it can even be fully offered or received, because this preemptive defense mechanism feels infinitely safer than the terrifying prospect of being truly known and yet still being chosen. But that deflection, as understandable as it may be given the scars of the past, is a subtle yet powerful signal. It is quietly, energetically asking the other person to maintain their distance, to keep their heart guarded. And they can feel it. Perhaps not consciously, perhaps not in a way they can articulate with words, but in the spirit, they sense the wall, the invisible barrier, even when your spoken words are inviting them in, saying the door is open. What is coming next will likely surprise you, because the true obstacle, the genuine barrier standing between you and the profound, soul-deep fullness of this divine connection, is not what you have been telling yourself it is. It's not external circumstances, and it's not their perceived flaws. What God is asking of you right now is not to muster more effort, not to strive harder, not to achieve some unattainable level of perfection. It is not about presenting a better, more polished version of yourself, dressed up and ready for cosmic approval. What God is asking, with a gentle yet insistent call, is for you to release the armor, because you built that armor in seasons when you desperately needed it. You constructed it as a survival mechanism, a shield against the harsh realities of a world that sometimes felt unforgiving. And it worked. It protected you when protection was absolutely necessary. But armor that was forged for the brutal battlefield was never ever designed for the intimate sanctuary of the bedroom. It was never meant for the sacred space where two souls are intended to meet, to intertwine without walls or fortifications between them. And if you attempt to walk into this connection still clad in the heavy metal of your defenses, you will be physically present, yes, but spiritually unreachable. You will be standing right beside them, yet separated by an unbridgeable chasm. And the person who, with such singular focus, has eyes only for you right now will, in time, eventually cease their efforts to penetrate what they were never meant to break down, what was never intended to be a battle. Consider the powerful narrative of Jacob wrestling with the angel through the long, transformative night. He refused to let go, clinging with fierce determination until he received the promised blessing. But what that profound story often fails to highlight is this crucial detail. Jacob had to be wounded before he could be renamed, before his destiny could be irrevocably altered. His hip was dislocated, put out of its socket by the divine force. He walked with a distinct limp from that moment forward, a physical manifestation of his encounter. And yet, that limp was not a mark of failure or defeat. It was the tangible, undeniable evidence that he had stood in the very presence of God and, through his persistence and vulnerability, had emerged from that encounter fundamentally changed. Some of you are limping right now. Some of you carry wounds that have not yet fully healed, scars that still ache with the memory of past battles. And you have been treating those wounds as disqualifications, as reasons why you are unworthy or unprepared for the love that is unfolding, when, in truth, they are the very evidence of a divine encounter, a testament to the spiritual battles you have already won, and the very forces that are actively reshaping your identity, refining your spirit. You do not have to be perfectly healed before you can be loved. You have to be willing to be loved while you are in the process of healing. And this is where the truth becomes profoundly confrontational, because I need to speak directly to a deeply buried aspect of the human psyche that most people rarely, if ever, acknowledge out loud. There exists a part of you, a hidden chamber within your being, that has become strangely comfortable in the state of waiting, not consciously, not in a way that you would ever openly admit or even recognize. But there is a place deep within your soul that has been utilizing the pain and unresolved issues of the past as a convenient excuse, a justification, to remain just close enough to love, to feel its warmth, but just far enough away to never be fully transformed by its power. It's a proximity without genuine surrender. It's a desire without the courage of full release. And that nebulous in-between space, that perpetual state of almost, has become your unintended home for far longer than you consciously realize. It's the land of what if and someday. The forces that seek to hinder your divine progress do not always attack you with overt absence or outright opposition. Sometimes their most effective strategy is far more subtle, far more insidious. It is to keep you perpetually lingering in the hallway of your own potential, close enough to glimpse the magnificent room, to see the possibilities but never quite stepping through the door. And the hallway feels familiar. It feels manageable. It feels like a reasonable, safe place to reside when the room, with all its unknown wonders and potential for profound connection, feels far too risky, far too vulnerable. But you were not created, you were not divinely designed to live in the dimly lit hallway of your own destiny. You were created to stride boldly through the door, into the light, into the fullness of what awaits. And that door, that sacred connection, that profound relationship, that specific person who at this very moment has their eyes fixed solely upon you, that door is wide open. But here's the part you likely didn't anticipate, the revelation that often catches people by surprise. The true thing that has been keeping you lingering in that hallway, trapped in the state of hesitant anticipation, isn't simply the fear of being hurt again. That's the surface layer, the readily apparent excuse. Beneath that lies something far more subtle, far more precise, and infinitely more powerful. It is the profound, often unacknowledged fear of being fully seen, truly known, and unequivocally chosen. Because if that sacred moment arrives, if you allow yourself to be embraced in that totality, you will have no more excuses, no more defenses, no more reasons left to protect yourself. You will have no more emotional distance to retreat to, no more carefully constructed barriers to hide behind. You will be completely known and completely loved, and that prospect utterly terrifies the part of you that has meticulously built its entire identity around being strong, being fiercely independent, being the one who, above all else, never needs anyone. Because if you discover that you need this person, if you allow them to matter to you with such profound completeness, then you are entering a realm of vulnerability that feels fundamentally unsafe to the part of you that learned to survive by never allowing anyone to get too close, by never needing anyone too much. But beloved, hear this truth with your entire being. Needing someone is not a sign of weakness. It is not a flaw. It is, in fact, the very essence of what love requires. It is the fundamental ingredient that transforms a connection from something merely comfortable into something sacred, something deeply resonant. And the Most High, in His infinite wisdom and love, did not orchestrate this person into your life so that you could simply admire them from a guarded, safe distance. He placed them in your path because He recognized that you were finally, fully ready to receive the very thing you have always deserved, a love that sees you in your totality, with all your imperfections and all your brilliance, and chooses to stay anyway. A love that is both profound and enduring. Now I invite you to place your hand gently on your heart, to feel the rhythm of your own being, and to declare this truth with me, letting the words resonate not just in the air, but deep within your soul. I release the armor I was never meant to carry forever. I release the ancient agreement I made with pain, that whispered love will always leave. I release the ingrained habit of loving from a distance, of holding back when God is calling me to love with my whole self, with unreserved abandon. I am worthy of being fully seen in all my magnificent complexity. I am worthy of being fully chosen, not for who I pretend to be, but for who I truly am. I am not defined by my past wounds, nor by the limiting labels that others who could not perceive the divine spark within me have placed upon me. I open myself, completely courageously and with unwavering faith to receive the profound love and the divine connection that God has already meticulously prepared and approved for my life. The unfolding of this connection before me is not too good to be true. It is in its essence true, and I am ready. I step forward now, not propelled by fear, not encased in armor, but stepping forward in bold, unwavering faith, knowing with every fiber of my being that I am seen, I am deeply loved, and I am exactly, perfectly, where I am supposed to be in this sacred moment. If this message reached something deep inside of you, something that words rarely manage to touch, don't let this transformative moment simply dissipate into the ether. Don't let it pass without taking the next crucial step. Leave a comment below this video. Share with me what profound shift occurred within you today, what broke open for you. And if you know someone who is standing on the precipice of their own spiritual breakthrough, someone who needs to hear these words, send this message to them right now. Because sometimes, for some precious souls, all it takes is one divinely timed message to ignite the shift that changes everything.